For half a century, Vincent Price was the sound of fear itself. It was that voice, silky refined, and somehow dripping with menace, that narrated America's nightmares. The face that loomed out of the shadows in 100 horror films. The villain in the dungeon, the madman in the mansion, the elegant fiend who always seemed to know something terrible that you didn't. He was the king of horror, the master of menace. When a generation of children pulled the blanket up to their eyes more often than not, it was because of him. And decades later, when a single eerie laugh and a few sinister words closed out the most famous music video ever made, it was Vincent Price. Again, still after all those years, the very voice of the dark. To the whole of America, the message was simple. This was a man who belonged in the shadows, a man built for fear. And it was almost entirely an illusion, because the real Vincent Price did not spend his life in darkness. He spent it chasing beauty. The man who terrified the country was, when the cameras stopped, very possibly the gentlest, warmest, most cultured human being in all of Hollywood. A Yale-educated art scholar, a world-class collector, a gourmet cook who wanted to feed you, and a quiet revolutionary who believed that beauty itself belonged to everyone. This is the story of how the scariest man in America fooled all of us, and who he really was behind the mask. Let's start with the monster America thought it knew, because for most people the monster was the whole story. Across more than 100 films, Vincent Price built one of the most recognizable identities in entertainment history: the villain, the fiend, the figure you did not want to be alone with. Standing 6'4", with that unmistakable polished purring voice, he became to American audiences what Boris Karloff had been to an earlier generation: the dignified face of dread. He stalked through wax museums and crumbling mansions. He brought the dark imagination of Edgar Allan Poe to the screen film after film, until his name and the word horror were practically the same word. He recorded chilling readings of Poe's tales and poems that families would play with the lights low, and the persona only grew with time. When that famous spoken word finale and that long, curling laugh closed out a record-breaking music video in the early 1980s, an entirely new generation met him and filed him in exactly the same place their parents had. Vincent Price equals fear. Vincent Price equals the macabre. There was even a place that mixed the two sides of him together, though most viewers only noticed one. For years, that same velvet, vaguely sinister voice turned up in the corner of America's favorite game show, dropping witty, sly answers from the panel of Hollywood squares. He was one of the show's most frequent faces, hundreds upon hundreds of episodes. But even there, even being quick and charming, the audience saw him through the horror lens. The spooky one, the eerie one, the man who somehow made even a tic-tac-toe board feel like it had a trap door. So that was the public's verdict, locked in for 50 years. Whatever this man was, he was a creature of the night. They had it exactly upside down. To understand how wrong America had it, you have to go back to where Vincent Price actually came from. And it could not be further from a haunted house. He was born in 1911 in St. Louis, Missouri, not into darkness, but into sweetness, quite literally. His father was the president of a national candy company. His grandfather had invented a hugely successful baking powder that sat in kitchens all across the country. Vincent Price, the future king of horror, was the pampered youngest child of a comfortable, wholesome, all-American family that made its fortune in candy and cake. There were no crypts in his childhood. There was sugar, and from very early on, the thing that truly lit him up was not fear. It was beauty. As a young man, Price went to Yale, and what he studied there was art. Art history. He was before he was ever an actor, a scholar of paintings and sculpture, a young man hungry to understand and to own and to share beautiful things. He continued his art studies abroad in London, and it was almost by accident while he was over there, immersed in the art world, that he wandered onto the London stage and discovered he could act. Sit with that for a second. The man America would come to fear above almost any other did not set out to frighten anyone. He set out to live a life surrounded by beauty paintings, ideas, culture, refinement. The acting, even the horror that made him a legend, came second. Underneath the menacing voice from the very beginning, there was an aesthete, a gentle, curious soul who loved lovely things. The horror was the costume. The love of beauty was the man. And here is where the gap between the mask and the man becomes almost unbelievable. Vincent Price was not a casual art fan. He was a serious collector, a respected critic, a lecturer, and an author of books about art. He spent his life and his money surrounding himself with masterpieces. But he did something with that passion that almost no celebrity then or now has ever done. He decided that fine art should not belong only to the wealthy, and he set out to change that. In the 1960s, Price partnered with, of all places, Sears, yes, the department store. The very same Sears where ordinary American families bought their refrigerators and their lawnmowers and their children's school clothes. And Sears handed the king of horror something extraordinary, complete authority to travel the world and buy art. Real art. He selected and commissioned works by Rembrandt, by Picasso, by Salvador Dalí, and then made them available through the Sears catalog to regular people in regular towns. The result is staggering. Over the life of that program, more than 50,000 original works of art were sold to everyday Americans. 50,000. Because the man the country feared was in his real life on a quiet, stubborn mission to put a genuine Picasso on the wall of a living room in the suburbs. His philosophy was as radical as it was simple that art belongs to everyone, not just to the rich and the few. And he didn't stop there. Price and his wife Mary took hundreds of works from their own collection, along with a large gift of money, and they donated all of it to start an art museum. Not at some glittering elite institution where it would be admired by people who already had everything. They gave it to a community college in East Los Angeles, a working-class school full of students who might otherwise never stand close to a real painting in their lives. To this day, that museum carries his name. Think about what that tells you about the real Vincent Price. The face of Menace was in private the opposite of menacing. He was generous. He was idealistic. He spent his fame and his fortune trying to hand beauty to the people who had the least access to it. That is not the act of a monster. That is the act of one of the kindest men in Hollywood. If the art collection were the only secret, it would already be enough to flip everything America believed about him. But there was another whole life hiding behind that sinister voice, and this one took place in the kitchen. Vincent Price was a gourmet cook, a genuine, passionate, world-class one. In 1965, he and Mary published a cookbook called A Treasury of Great Recipes. It was not a throwaway celebrity project. It was a magnificent 500-page volume, heavy, ornate, bound like a treasured heirloom, gathering the great dishes of legendary restaurants from around the world and adapting them for the home kitchen. It became a beloved bestseller. Decades later, one of the country's most respected food magazines would name it one of the 100 most important culinary events of the entire 20th century. The King of Horror had written one of the most important cookbooks in American history. He cooked constantly. He hosted lavish dinner parties at his Beverly Hills home. He spent hours perfecting a crème brûlée. He even hosted his own cooking show. And the way his daughter remembers it, he was in every meaningful sense the original American foodie decades before that was even a word. But here is the part that captures who he really was. For all his refinement, Vincent Price was not a snob about any of it. His philosophy of food was that wonderful eating could be found anywhere, that Gourmet was not the private property of five-star restaurants. He would drive 100 miles to track down the best little taquito at a stand attached to a car wash. He cherished the French toast he ate on the train through the desert, and the hot dogs he wolfed down watching the Dodgers play every bit as much as the haute cuisine of the great kitchens of Europe. It was the same idea as the art really just on a plate. Beauty, whether on a canvas or in a meal, was for everyone, and joy was wherever you were generous enough to find it. Even his most famous television moments quietly told this truth if anyone was paying attention. When he visited Johnny Carson's couch, he didn't want to play the ghoul. He'd rather bring along a Jackson Pollock from his own collection and gently try to explain modern art to a baffled studio audience. Or roll up his sleeves and cook, including one legendary appearance where he prepared a fish inside a dishwasher. The supposed master of Menace, given the biggest stage in late-night television, mostly just wanted to share a painting or feed you dinner. So who then was the real Vincent Price? The people who actually knew him describe a man almost perfectly opposite to his terrifying image. Elegant, erudite, endlessly curious. A great traveler with, as his daughter put it, an omnivorous appetite for life itself, for food, for art, for ideas, for the whole rich banquet of the world. Warm, witty, and kind. A man who lit up a dinner table, not a dungeon. And this is the heart of the deception, the thing that makes his story so different from the usual tale of a star trapped by their image. Vincent Price was not bitter about the horror that made him famous. He didn't sulk in the shadow of the monster. He embraced it. He understood the joke better than anyone that the scariest man in America was in real life, a gentle soul in an apron who wanted to show you a beautiful painting and pour you a glass of wine. And rather than resent the persona, he used it. He turned all that fame, all that menace, into a tool, a platform to do the thing he actually cared about, which was bringing beauty and culture and joy to ordinary people who had been told those things weren't meant for them. He even carried his values quietly into the wider world. A man of genuinely progressive convictions, he was once appointed to a federal board supporting Native American arts and crafts, and he noted with that dry wit what a surprise it was for the administration to pick him, given his politics. He used his celebrity again and again, not to frighten, but to elevate, to include, to share. That is an almost unheard of kind of grace. Most people who get famous for one thing spend their lives fighting it. Vincent Price took the mask the world handed him, smiled, and used it to do good. The fear was never who he was. It was simply the door he walked through, to give people something better. And in the very end, the world finally let him show his true face. In 1990, a young filmmaker named Tim Burton, who had grown up adoring Vincent Price, who had seen the gentle artist underneath the horror long before most people did, gave him one last role. In the film, Edward Scissorhands Price did not play a villain. He played the inventor, a kindly, lonely old creator who lovingly builds a son out of spare parts, who is tender and warm and good, and who dies with his work unfinished and his heart wide open. It was Vincent Price's final film. And it may have been the truest thing he ever put on screen, because for once, the role and the man were the same. After half a century of dungeons and daggers, the king of horror got to end his career as exactly what he had always been, a gentle creator, a maker of beautiful things, a soul full of love. Vincent Price died in 1993 at the age of 82 after a long decline and the lung illness that finally caught up with a lifetime of smoking. And here is the strangest, most beautiful twist of all. The man America remembers for terror left behind almost no terror at all. He left an art museum still teaching young people who never thought they'd touch a masterpiece. He left one of the most cherished cookbooks of the century. He left 50,000 real paintings hanging in ordinary homes all across the country. He left the radical, generous, deeply kind idea that beauty, art, food, wonder, joy, was never meant to be hoarded by the few, but shared with the many. That is the legacy of the man the whole world thought was a monster. It is one of the great sleights of hand in entertainment history. For 50 years, Vincent Price wore the face of fear so convincingly that an entire nation never noticed the gentle, generous, beauty-loving man right in front of them. The scariest man in America turned out to be one of the kindest. And that not the shadows, not the menace, not the laugh in the dark is the real Vincent Price. If this story stayed with you, you'll find more of them. Right here. The real lives hiding behind the faces that once filled America's living rooms, and the truths they never quite got the chance to tell. Subscribe, and we'll keep telling them.